Imagine this. You walk into a room and someone questions your motives. They want you to justify yourself. Explain why you did what you did. Most people would fold. They'd start rambling, over-explaining, begging to be understood. But not you, because you know something most people will never understand. The moment you explain yourself, you've already lost power. Machiavelli knew this centuries ago, and if you master this rule of perception control, you will walk through life untouchable. Tonight, I'll show you why the most dangerous people never explain themselves, why silence is stronger than 1,000 arguments, and why Machiavelli would call you a fool if you ever wasted breath defending your existence. Let's begin. Here's the raw truth. Explanations are not about truth. They're about power. When you explain yourself, you shift control from you to them. You're admitting they have the right to judge you. You're admitting their perception matters more than your reality. And that's weakness. Machiavelli taught us, perception is everything. Men don't see the truth. They see what you let them see. So when you rush to explain, you're not clarifying. You're begging to be seen as good, begging to be understood, begging for approval. But the world doesn't respect beggars. It respects the ones who never flinch, never justify, never break their mask. That's why silence terrifies people. I'll tell you a story. Years ago, I had a friend who wanted to climb the corporate ladder. He was talented, sharp, a natural leader. But every time a superior questioned him, he'd panic. He'd launch into a storm of explanations. Here's why I did it. Here's what I meant. Here's the context you're missing. Do you know how people saw him? Not as strong, not as competent, but as guilty. Because here's the dark psychology behind it. The more you explain, the more you sound like you're hiding something, even if you're not. And the man who explains too much always looks weak. Machiavelli would say, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." And nothing kills fear faster than a man who scrambles to justify himself. Now let me flip this. Imagine someone accuses you. They push, they prod, they demand an explanation, and you give them nothing. Not excuses, not rambling, not weakness, just silence, or a calm, unbothered stare. Do you know what happens? They collapse into their own insecurity. Their mind starts racing. Why isn't he defending himself? Is he hiding something? Or is he so powerful he doesn't care what I think? That silence plants fear. It makes them chase your approval. It makes them doubt themselves. And that is perception control. Machiavelli wasn't writing fairy tales. He was writing survival manuals for men in the trenches of power. He knew the prince, the ruler, could not afford to look weak. He wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." Think about that. The crowd doesn't care about your inner truth. They only care about the mask you present. And if you crack that mask by explaining yourself, you lose the illusion. You lose the aura of authority. Machiavelli would tell you this straight. Never fight battles on someone else's terms. And an explanation is fighting on their ground. Here's where this gets dark. Silence isn't just avoiding weakness. It's a weapon. When you refuse to explain, people start explaining for you. They invent reasons, they rationalize, they gossip. But here's the trick. They project their own fears onto your silence. And often, what they imagine is 10 times darker, 10 times more powerful than anything you could have said. That's how you control perception without lifting a finger. Let's bring this into your life. At work, when someone challenges your decision, instead of panicking, answer with calm certainty. Short, sharp sentences, no rambling, no justifying. If they press harder, meet their eyes, pause, and simply say, "That's the decision." In relationships, if your partner tests you with accusations, don't fall into the trap of explaining every move. Defensiveness fuels insecurity, but calm silence, backed by consistency of action, earns respect. In social circles, when people throw shade or question your choices, let them wonder. Never feed their curiosity with explanations. Mystery will always outrank honesty in the currency of power. Remember this. People can only attack what they can touch. Silence makes you untouchable. But let me give you a warning. There's a reason most people explain themselves. It feels safe. We explain because we fear being misunderstood. We explain because we crave approval. We explain because silence feels risky. But here's the paradox. The more you explain, the less you're understood. The less you explain, the more powerful you appear. And in the brutal theater of life, appearance is reality. So, what do you take from this? Never explain yourself. Not because you're hiding, not because you're guilty, but because explanations give your power away. Control perception through silence, confidence, and decisive action. Let others drown in speculation while you move like a shadow. Machiavelli's rule is brutal, yes, but if you master it, you will rise above the petty games of insecure men. You will walk through life as the one who cannot be shaken, the one who does not beg for understanding, the one who controls the battlefield of perception without ever firing a shot. And that is the highest form of power. If these words struck something deep in you, if you feel the fire of strength awakening inside you, then stay close, because this is just one law of power, and there are many more that can turn you into someone untouchable, unstoppable, undeniable. The choice is yours.